Hello there, welcome back to my channel. It is Friday. Woohoo, TGIF! In fact, it is Friday, January 10th, which means it's the same week as the past two vlogs. I thought it would be kind of cool to show how the week has progressed because Monday was our first day back from break, but it was a staff development day. And then Tuesday was our first day back with students in our class. And I vlogged both of those days. And you know, we're feeling a little more sluggish by the end of the week. However, I have some good things to share. I have some math tips and just things I've been trying out that I feel like have been working well that I will share with you. I'm gonna show you the science word wall for our new unit. So let's get the vlog started. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I am definitely feeling more sluggish, a lot more tired than I was at the beginning of the week. Yesterday, Thursday, was the day that it really hit me, but I'm not alone because all of my team teachers, every time we would see each other in the hallway, were like, we are dragging today, what is going on? And I think it's just the fatigue of getting back into routine and having to make your brain go into overdrive again. So rather than dwelling on that, let's start with some good things. First good thing, although it probably doesn't sound like it, I do feel like my cold is much better. If you saw the first vlog when I returned from winter break, I mentioned I kind of got a little bit of a cold and it didn't get worse, it has improved, so yay. Also, because it is a Friday, we get to do our Golden Emerson Award, and we did not do it the last day before break because whenever there are short weeks, so weeks where we have a day off of school, I like to combine it with another week. That way the student gets to keep the Golden Emerson for longer than just 4 days. And because the week leading up to winter break and this first week back were both shorter weeks, I actually had the same student stay the Golden Emerson the week before break and this week. But we get to pass it on today. And it feels like it's been a long time since we've done that. So I'm excited. And this was very sweet. Yesterday, I had a student who gave me this little cactus and they're like, it's just like your jacket. And I thought that was so sweet. So looking forward to just kind of getting back to that usual routine. Also, I'm completing my index card today with the 4x2 because it's a short week. So instead of 5x2, where you, for 5 days in a row, talk to a student for 2 minutes a day just to better get to know them. Today is the last day of that. I've been filling out my index card. I'm gonna go to the front office. If we share something that we learned about the student, we get entered into a drawing for a gift card. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Another good thing is the fact that all of my planning for next week is done, whoop whoop, and we are going back to the transformation room, which currently the transformation room has a winter wonderland theme. I already took my students once during science back in December and I vlogged it. So if you want to see that, you can go back and watch it. But we're gonna go back on Monday for a math lesson. I'll give you a sneak peek. I'm gonna vlog on Monday, so you'll see all the details, but it's a math lesson and I got to be somewhat creative. I got all of that prepped. I got all of the lessons for next week ready to go, and that's always a good feeling, especially at the start of Friday, to have your planning for the next week done. Also, because we did not give out homework before winter break, this week students didn't have homework, and that means there is no homework to grade today, yay. And then finally, every day this week, as well as next week, we have a different daily house point challenge for our students in order to get them back into the usual routines and expectations. Today's house point challenge is having a 0 level voice, which just means your voice is off, at dismissal. And I'm looking forward to that because then that means dismissal should, knock on whatever this table's made out of, hopefully wood, that means dismissal will go very smoothly. And sometimes on Fridays, dismissal can be a little bit hectic, so that was good planning on whoever chose that for today's daily house point challenge. I mean, I could keep coming up with good things, but those are the main good things that I'm really focusing on just to kind of persevere through the tiredness. Now for our Friday for Emerson Family Forum, which is just our morning meeting, I like to do some kind of activity with my students. I've shared in the past about Feedback Friday, where I give them each an index card and they give me a piece of feedback. So maybe it's something we did during the week that they loved and want to do more of, or something that they wish that we had done, or a way that I can better support them. But I wanted to change it up today. And I saw in the email that I get every day called First 5, which I've shared about before. It's just a free email list that you can sign up for, and every day you get different activity ideas and kind of morning meeting questions and things delivered right to your email inbox. And I absolutely love it. I'll link it for you if you're not already signed up and you want to be. But I saw this probably back in November, and I just kind of wrote it down as like a future idea. I don't know where the idea originally came from, but it's a group storytelling game, I guess is the best way to describe it, called Fortunately, Unfortunately. And how it goes is one person starts with something that would be fortunate. So fortunately, I'm feeling less of a cold right now. I don't know, that was an awful example, but apparently my brain is not on yet. And then another student would pick up and say, but unfortunately, and they would give something that corresponds with what I just said, but would obviously be a negative thing. And the story just builds and builds and builds as you go, because you flip-flop between fortunately and unfortunately. I've never done it with my students before, but I'm gonna give it a try this morning. I love that it is zero prep, but I can see my students having a lot of fun with it. So I wanted to share that in case you are looking for just an easy game. It's also one that you could play at any time. Let's say you've gotten to specials early and you're hanging out in the hallway. It's a really simple game that you could start playing with your class. Let's talk math, shall we?
Math is hard.
Currently, we are in the midst of our fraction unit. It's a very lengthy unit. And we have worked on decomposing fractions. We have worked on comparing fractions. That's kind of what we're wrapping up now. We're gonna go into adding and subtracting fractions. We're gonna start that today, but that will continue next week. We'll get into adding and subtracting mixed numbers. And I wanted to share just a couple of quick strategies that I have done with my students to help with that, because those can be challenging topics. So first, with comparing fractions. Let's say we were comparing 2/3 and 2/5, which we've been having a lot of good conversations about just reasoning about fractions and what the fraction means, what it looks like, because we go over a lot of strategies, drawing area models, strip diagrams, number lines. It can be overwhelming, and sometimes we need to just take a step back and make it more simple. So for example, here, recognizing they have the same numerator. What does that mean? That means they have the same number of pieces. But if we look at our denominators, those are different. That means there's a different number of pieces in the whole. The more pieces that a whole is broken into, the smaller those pieces have to be. So even though these have the same number of pieces, fifths are going to be smaller than thirds. So just a lot of good conversations. But when it comes to using those greater than, less than symbols, for the most part, my students do a great job. And I would say a majority of students, if you ask them how they remember, they're like, oh, it's an alligator, it's a mouth, it wants to eat the bigger number.
Alligators are dinosaurs, Dwight. You know that, right?
And it's like they know that, but still sometimes they end up putting the symbol backwards. And I don't know if it's just due to rushing or what. And all of a sudden, I thought of this idea, and I'm like, I'm just gonna throw it out there to them. If it helps, it helps. And I do feel like it has helped. So rather than having them just place the symbol, the first thing I have them do is I will say circle the bigger fraction. So once you have drawn your strip diagram or you've made your number line, you have figured out which fraction is larger, circle it. So in this case, the larger fraction would be 2/3. So I would tell them to circle 2/3. Then I've been telling them to make an ice cream cone. So if they think about this as the ice cream, they can make the cone using the greater than or less than symbol inside. So now it kind of looks like an ice cream cone if you turn it. And I've noticed a lot of my students doing that on their paper. And honestly, the biggest help is probably just having them circle the bigger fraction. But I feel like logically then making it into an ice cream cone ensures that they are putting the symbol the right way. So wanted to share that because it was a random idea that I had, and it's been working for my students, which means it might work for some others. We also have been having them create number bonds in order to change mixed numbers or rename mixed numbers as improper fractions, because some of the strategies, it's easier to have an improper fraction than a mixed number. So for example, if we had 1 3/4, I have them create the number bond. If you're not familiar with number bonds, they're essentially just part holes. And you don't have to have just 2 circles at the bottom. You could have 3 circles, 4 circles. You can have as many parts as you need. But for this, I would have them take out the whole. So we would say how many fourths are equivalent to 1 whole? And they're able to quickly say 4/4. So in the first circle, they're gonna write 4/4. Then I would say, okay, what is the missing piece? What is left after we take out that whole? And they would say, oh, 3/4. So they would write it in the other circle, 3/4. Then they're quickly able to put those together and say, oh, so that's equivalent to 7/4. And I feel like this is helpful because we use number bonds to also decompose fractions and to look at addition and subtraction, connecting it to number bonds. So having them also use a number bond to rename that mixed number as an improper fraction has been helpful. And I just wanted to share that in case it's helpful for you and your students. Who knows? I mean, sometimes it's the little things that can make a big difference. But in my last vlog, I think it was, I shared my new clipboard that I'm using when I am circulating around the room as students are working as a way to document data. So here is the update. First of all, I ended up hanging it, but this shelf cubby kind of area that's behind me, there's only one shelf. And so there's all these little holes that are empty on the side where I have not put a peg to hang a shelf. So I had extra pegs. I just put a peg into one of the holes and that's where I'm hanging my clipboard. I end up using it while I walk around the room, but then I also bring it to my back table because as my students finish their exit tickets each day, I kind of cross-reference that with the data that I collected during class. Another change that I made, and shout out to my team teacher who did this, again, it's so simple, I don't know why I hadn't thought about it, but it has made it much easier. When I first prepped the sheets, I had my morning class on one side, my afternoon class on the other side, which is fine, but it is more work to have to flip the paper over every single day. So she came in my room, she's like, hey, I was able to fit both classes on one page. And I'm like, why did I not think about that? So now I basically have one long list and it has my morning class on top, my afternoon class on the bottom. I did also go in and enter my symbols that I'm using to designate the data that I'm collecting, and I'm keeping it very simple. I decided to leave a blank spot for on target. That way I don't have to fill in like check marks for all the kids that have it. Hopefully a majority of the class would be on target for the skill. So by leaving it blank, it's less work because I don't have to fill in as much. I am using a star to designate any students who went above and beyond and maybe are ready for some enrichment. I am using obviously an A for any students that are absent. I think that's good data to track to know which lessons they missed, because that might help future data make a little bit more sense. I am using a dash if students got the concept but just made little errors. And as soon as I had them go check over the work, they found their error. And then I'm using a circle to represent students that needed support. So this means once I prompted them a little bit or facilitated a discussion with them, they were able to get the concept, but they definitely needed some help. And what I really like about using a circle for that is once I can see that they're on target, I just put a little check mark inside of the circle. So it's like, hey, they needed support, but now they've got it. And then finally, if they needed straight out reteaching, I'm putting an X in their box, meaning I had to work with them either one-on-one or in a small group and just completely go over the skill. So again, I just wanted to share that it's not revolutionary in any way, shape, or form, but if you find it helpful, there you go. And I will link the spreadsheet down below if you want to make a copy of it to use it for your own math instruction or any subject. It doesn't have to be math. And now on to science. This current chapter, it's a big one. It's a 5-week-long chapter, which meant I needed 5 sections of my board, and I was kind of struggling with it. So as you'll see on the right side, I ended up putting one on top. So I used this blank space on the left to kind of outline our investigation. So I shared about this in the last vlog. We created stream tables to model weathering, but it's the same investigation to go over erosion and deposition next week. So rather than redoing the investigation, I'm just gonna show them a video of it. But we kind of documented what happened up here at the top. That way we can easily reference it next week. And since it goes with these 2 weeks, it made sense to have it in that blank space. So this chapter that will go into February is Earth's processes and resources. So this week we have been focusing on weathering. And thank goodness my new magnets have been holding up nicely. But as I mentioned on the staff development day on Monday, I got all of these picture cards prepped for the rest of the year, which feels really good. And these were our notes. They're not the best, but they got the job done. Next week we'll move into erosion and deposition. And I've just been leaving the vocabulary cards for that week kind of in a list at the top, and then as I build the word wall, I will put them where they need to go. But it's nice because that way my students are already being exposed to the words as they are sitting up there. And for example, some of my students this week already started using the terms eroded and deposited just because they had seen those up on the word wall. If you have been staying up to date with my vlogs, you may remember back in, I think it was October, we did a fundraiser called Raise Craze. And as teachers, we actually get to keep 10% of what our class raises to put toward our classroom. And so just before break, we had gotten emails with the amount that we had to be able to spend. And so I did a little shopping before break, not really. I picked out the items I wanted, sent it to our administrative assistant, and she ordered it. So items have kind of slowly been arriving throughout the week. I think I'm still missing a few things. Yes, actually, I know that I'm still missing a few things. So we'll see if they come in today. But I wanted to share what I've gotten so far. So first, we have one of the colored Jenga block sets. This is gonna go in my math bins for flex time. Now my idea is, because the blocks are all different colors, rather than writing directly on the blocks, I've seen some teachers do that with math facts and things, then it only really serves one purpose. But if I leave the blocks blank, what I can do is create colored cards that correspond with different math facts or skills that we're working on. And throughout the year, I can just change out the cards, but my students can use the same Jenga set. So that is my idea. I need to prep the cards, but my students will be excited because I've had a bin that says Jenga and they're like, when are we getting that? And I'm like, at some point, that point has arrived. I also got these cord organizers. So they're just different colored little Velcro kind of pieces to go around cords. These are for our Chromebook charging station. What we currently have is working, but it's not the best. Let's come back to that. I also got these are like fidget bands to go around chairs. I had some, but they didn't fit well around my chairs and they were super bulky. So these are more thin ones, almost like a resistance band material. So it's just a black band that you can wrap around the legs of a chair, and that way students can put their feet on it and be able to kind of move them around and get the wiggles out. So excited about those. Also, I got a pack of, I've always called these privacy shields. There might be a better name for them. Let me get the plastic off. Okay, here's what they look like. So they are a plastic kind of corrugated material similar to what a for sale sign would be in your yard, but they basically are just shaped like this, and students are able to put it around their area when they're working. And not that it's like a requirement, but some of my students want to have kind of a private space. And I used to have some of these when I taught 4th grade, and they were really nice to have on hand also for testing, things like that. I think I'm gonna store these above the cubby area because I've got some space there. This box is now empty, yay. I also got some recess balls, and I went with rainbow because I thought they'd be easy to spot outside and also to kind of differentiate them from the other teachers. So I need to blow these up. I got 2 of them. They're just like a standard kickball, but I also need to write my last name on them. To go with those, I got just a basic drawstring bag. I haven't even, oh, that's big. All of this to carry those 2 little balls, but it's fine because as we collect other recess items, we'll put it in there. I'm just chuckling because it's massive. Some more magnetic border to go on my whiteboards for our science word wall as well as math because I kept running a little bit short. So I got another pack of these. And then, what are these? I don't even know what these are. So, oh, okay. So I went ahead, and this was an idea from one of my team teachers, because I was like, what do you use this money on? Like, what types of things? And they had said, oh, like recess toys and items. And then they also mentioned getting items for Valentine's Day as well as the end of the year. And I was like, that's super smart. That way I don't have to spend money out of my own pocket for any little gifts that I want to give them. So these are an item for the end of the year. They're going to get these kind of rainbow pens, the ones where you can press down the different colors. I always loved these growing up. I still love them if we're being completely honest, but I have a pack of those as well as some rainbow bags So these are just like gift bags. And I think this was a 100 pack. Yeah, so this will be enough for this year and next year, which is nice. So these are some like rainbow lollipops. So we're gonna go with a rainbow theme for the end of the year. So they'll get one of these little rainbow lollipops, they'll get a pen, it'll be in the rainbow bag. I'll probably put some other things in there and a tag that says, thanks for a colorful year, or something along those lines. But I also got little Valentine's Day treats that I'm gonna give. They're not really treats, because I try to do things that are not candy for Valentine's Day, since they're gonna get a lot of candy from other students.
Happy Valentine's Day, sweetheart.
But I got them they're like science kits, so I will show you those when those come in, because they have not come in yet. But keep your fingers crossed, maybe by the end of the day. Now that the day is done, here is a check-in on our Chromebooks. I've shared this before, but it's been a little bit of a learning curve trying to figure out how to best organize these. So each student's Chromebook has a piece of painter's tape with their number, and this corresponds to their number within the roster. And then in each slot, there's another piece of painter's tape that corresponds with the same number. So that way, the Chromebook gets put in the numbered spot, and then the numbered charger gets plugged in. At the beginning of the year, I got these little plastic kind of clip-on numbers to be able to designate. But as you can see, the single ones are fine. The ones where it is double digit, they don't always stay put. And I had put colored tape in order to kind of keep them up top. And it works for the most part, but it's not perfect. And I know it's never going to be perfect. I just feel like it can be better than it is. So with those little kind of Velcro-y attachments, I went through and wrote numbers on all of them. So I now have all of them numbered, and I just went in rainbow order. So I went red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and so on. So I'm going to be taking off the plastic numbers and the tape, and instead replacing it with just the numbers with the little kind of Velcro piece. Again, I don't think it'll be perfect. Like, they'll probably slide down, and that's okay. But I think overall it will work just a little bit better. And these little plastic things, because they have the little, I know it's hard to tell, but there's little notches where they can connect into each other. They can be a little pokey sometimes, and I feel like having the Velcro will just be a better fit, so we don't have that. I'm not even taking off my jacket from dismissal because I'm not staying long. I have all my planning done for next week. All my grading is done. I got report cards stuffed, and they're ready to get put into Tuesday folders next week. And as a result, I'm gonna get out of here early. Well, early for me, on time, but early for me. However, I would like to just say, I bumped up these recess balls, and is it just me, or I don't feel like taking them out of the drawstring bag, but are they two different sizes? Like, this one looks smaller than this one, but they were ordered from the exact same Amazon listing, and the Amazon listing only has one size, so I'm a little confused. Also, they're a little smaller than I thought that they would be, so whenever I get money next fundraiser, I will try to get a larger size. These were 8.5 inch. I feel like I need 12 inch, something like that, just as a bigger kind of like kickball ball. But really good day. My students honestly did a fantastic job. Just all day, I felt like they were working hard, getting what they needed to get done. Dismissal went super smooth because of it being the House Point Challenge to have volume at a 0. Also, my entire class got a compliment at lunch. So our cafeteria workers have these like guest checks, and they will hand them out to students who are doing a great job. And so typically if a student has one after lunch, they get some kind of a treat or a reward. And today my class gave it to me, and they're like, hey, it was for everyone. And it says all class. So first time that's ever happened, but that made me really happy. And I also texted Billy to say, can we go to Costco tonight? Because that's my Friday reward, apparently. Just walking around Costco. What could be more fun? But if you enjoyed this vlog, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I am gonna vlog on Monday, and I will share the math lesson for the transformation room, which again is a Winter Wonderland theme. If you missed that previous vlog back in December, go back and watch it. That way you know what the room looks like, and then the lesson will make a little bit more sense. But as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.